way. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Hi, Fiona. Good, thanks. How are you? Oh, yeah.
That's why Jen
Ready to go, Fiona. You scared him.
haven't targeted, and so that way we don't spend a lot of time with them taking them out and carve off pieces of the banks of the islands.
Welcome to the mighty, mighty Fraser. Not too long ago, someone asked us if we wanted to go fishing. We thought, maybe. Let's see if we got time.
But when Rick Hansen asks you to go fishing, you might as well just go. How are you, Rick?
Great, you guys. Thanks for coming out.
Tell us where we are. Tell our viewers where we are right now.
Well, here we are just outside of Chilliwack on the Fraser River, and we're here with a buddy of mine, Fred Helmer, who's one of the greatest sturgeon fishermen on the planet. And this is one of the things I absolutely love to do, is to get out in the Fraser and catch, tag, and release sturgeon. It's
When was the first
thing.
time you encountered a sturgeon? First one you caught, do you remember?
10 years old. I was living in Abbotsford at the time, going down a creek looking for big trout. Got to the river where the creek entered into the river and threw my line out, and I caught a 3-foot sturgeon, and it was like this prehistoric monster jumped into my life. And I, of course, back then in the 60s, you're able to keep the fish, and I paddled back to my dad and said, "Dad, what is it? What is it?" And he said, "This is a sturgeon." And he told me all about the sturgeon, and I kept running into this fish all up and down the Fraser when I lived in Williams Lake and Abbotsford and Richmond. And then I met Fred Helmer, and Fred told me a lot about the sturgeon story from an ecological point of view, and it really inspired me to get involved to really help these fish out.
Now, when did they become endangered?
Well, actually, they ended up having some challenges in the 70s and 80s. There was, a series of commercial fishing and a lot of mortality. And then there was a big, massive die-off in the 90s of a lot of big breeders. And so we knew that if we didn't form a group of people together in a society that was interested in conservation, that maybe these fish might continue to decline and maybe become extinct. So the Conservation Society was formed, and Fred and I were founding board members, and we've been working on trying to help these fish out for the last 10 years or so.
Tell us about the tagging, because this is quite a program you guys have set up, and it's been recognized around the world as being one of the best programs of its kind for conservation.
In order to do effective conservation, I think it's important to galvanize different stakeholders together and get past beliefs and really understand science and get facts. And everybody had a belief about what was happening with the fish. Are they in trouble? Are they more plentiful than ever? So we thought, we needed to create a tagging program. We got volunteers that were trained, highly effective technical people that could do data control, put the management system, the population model in place. And within a short period of time, we've had hundreds of volunteers, tagged over 33,000 fish on the river. We have the best freshwater fish population model in North America. And we know exactly what's happening with the fish.
So what percentage of the population of the sturgeon are tagged now?
Now about 50% of the fish are tagged, and of course every year there's a whole new generation coming into the tagging sort of zone, and we follow these fish through their life cycle, their migration patterns. We found out that fish migrate from the Columbia River in Oregon all the way out into the ocean and come up into the Fraser River because we've recaptured them here. These are sturgeon, really? And we've also found that they migrate down from the Chilcotin up in the Caribou all the way down into the Fraser Valley. So it changes the management paradigm by which government officials are able to monitor and enforce regulations with fish.
Right. Well, and everybody that grew up in British Columbia or knows anything about it knows that the Fraser River is, sort of one of the main engines for, commerce and business and industrial activity as well. And you guys are really trying to find a balance in there, or at least give some information to these stakeholders in terms of what their impact is.
Right. Well, first of all, when you actually understand the population status, you understand where are the critical forces that are affecting sturgeon for the future. Number one is we know that there's not as many little guys coming into the model into the population as we'd like there to be. So we got to be very concerned about spawning grounds. We have to also be concerned about rearing habitat, little backwater sloughs and eddies and sandbars. If we can keep those areas intact, then the fish are going to be poised to recover. We also know that a lot of fish, this size, can be vulnerable to perhaps gill net interception. So we've asked First Nations to get very involved in, being careful about how they're, captured and then released, and to be part of the tagging program. They're so supportive, and it's great to see sports fishermen, First Nations, and commercial fishermen all working together and caring about the fish. And we also then know that if you want to be able to do intervention for spawning grounds, if you're going to work on gravel removal for flood control, we'd like them to just avoid the certain sort of small areas where these sturgeon spawn, and then take out the other pieces where you can have a balance of smart economic development, flood control, but not get into just taking it out everywhere and then find out that you've inadvertently gone into the last big spawning ground of the sturgeon.
Now the sturgeon, you said prehistoric, and I think that's what everybody thinks when they see one. Tell us a little bit about the fish themselves, how big they can get, how old they can get, because it's quite fascinating.
Well, these fish have outlived the dinosaur. They haven't changed evolutionarily in 65 million years. So essentially they've learned how to be incredible survivors. They during an ice age, they've had to learn how to come out of the fresh water and go into the ocean, and not only stay in the ocean in salt water. That's an anadromous fish. Very few fish have that ability to go in fresh and salt water easily back and forth without dying. And then they've actually migrated south all the way down to South America during an ice age, and they've found how to spawn in freshwater rivers there to keep surviving. So they're incredible survivors. They'll live to be about 200 years of age.
Yeah, their life cycle
They can grow to be 18 to 19 feet in length.
And how many pounds?
And close to 1,900 pounds. I mean, there's just some monster fish out there, and they don't spawn very frequently, and it takes them a long time to become sexually mature. Not like Mike when. Oops, sorry about that, Mike.
You know what? It's still taking me a long time to become sexually mature, so it's quite all right. And I mean, when you talk about the economics of this, we were talking to Fred earlier before we came out about his company and how long he's had it and how much it's grown. I mean, people come from around the world to experience fishing, catch and release, tagging of sturgeon.
Yeah, it's amazing. Here the Fraser Valley has become world famous for how sports fishermen are connected to sturgeon. It's an incredible sport fish to be part of. It's great for catch and release. These fish, they're caught in a cartilage part of their mouth where there's no sensory location there. It's like the callus in your hand. If you put something through,
so it doesn't hurt them.
It really doesn't hurt. And at the end of the day, they're also perfect for catch and release because they fight hard. Then they just
they give up.
They just relax, and they just go, okay,
No, they're just chilling.
And
you got me, tag.
And then once you've handled the fish, measured them, tagged them, if you take care of them properly, then they just swim away and they're off and they're gone.
Job is done.